Mitzpe Ramon, about to meet up with the founder of the Deep Desert Israel, a company that prides itself on turning adventure into inspiration and enables people to experience the beauty of the Israel Negev. Let's go meet Itai Harei, who actually lives right here in Mitzpe Ramon and knows it like the back of his hand.
Deep Desert Israel actually does everything or anything you can think of in the desert. This is my office, as I like to say. Pretty nice decor. We do jeep roads, off-roading, we do rappelling off the cliffs of the crater, we do hiking.
Not only that, they even cater camping trips, and more to my liking, they even organize glamping trips, a much more glamorous take on the traditional camping.
And of course, very important to mention, stargazing. You know, this area recently was declared a night sky reserve, the second one in Asia. The first was in South Korea.
If you guys recall, I teamed up with Asaf Peled from Shin Tours Israel to show me around the holiest Christian sites to see in Jerusalem. Will Itai and Asaf work together to give all the Shin Tour visitors a taste of the Negev? Some of you who may be watching are still not sure exactly what the Mitzpe Ramon crater really is and how it came about. Well, that's exactly why we have Itai with us, to tell us the whole story.
When you speak about a crater, you're talking about one of two things. Either a meteorite that crashed into the earth and created an impact crater, or a volcano that collapsed into its center and then we have a volcanic crater. Here we don't have none of the above. Okay, what we actually have here is a unique geomorphological phenomena that occurred only in Israel.
According to Itai, this is actually a scientific term or name that's only in Hebrew, which is called Machtesh. So from now on, he'll be referring to the so-called crater as Mitzpe Ramon.
To understand it, we need to go back many, many years ago to the times that the continents were still in one piece. Okay, now during that time, this very, very thin, soft sand, which I'm holding in my hand now, which is basically quartz grain sand, like the sand you have on the coast of Tel Aviv, for instance, or the Mediterranean coast of Israel. This quartz grain sand used to be huge granite mountains in Central Africa. Over years and years, they were eroded and eventually brought down here through huge rivers. It used to run from Africa to Israel of today. Back then, the Red Sea was still a continent. We didn't even have an opening then. Years go by, earth changes, tectonic plates move, and eventually the sea, which old Israel back then was banking, the sea rises and covers all over the area where we are now. So if you can imagine, wherever you look used to be under the bottom of an ocean once upon a time, and therefore we have a very, very tough rock forming during that period. This rock is what we call limestone, okay? This rock deposits on top the very, very soft sand, creating quite a thick layer over it. And at this stage where we're talking about now, the tectonic plates get closer to each other and actually press the earth. Now, even very tough rocks, as this limestone, when it's pressed and pushed from two sides, acts like silly putty, or like a piece of paper which you push from two sides. What would happen to it? It would rise, and then we get ridges. That's what we had here. And the rocks themselves were actually pushed from the sides, forming a baby mountain. Okay, now this mountain was high enough to peak from above the surface of the ocean. Remember, we still had an ocean back then, forming an island. What I'm going to do, I'm going to sprinkle some water on this because I'm actually making a model of the ancient rocks we had here. All the sand which is now getting wet is forming a muddy crust, which is tough, and the sand which stays dry on the inside actually plays the role of itself in our geological drama here, just of soft sand. The two components are actually what enabled the Machtesh to form. We have the island line. Above this line is exposed to the environment and is affected by the waves crashing on it, by the rain falling on it, by the differences between day and night in terms of the temperature. And slowly, as things happen in geology, some cracks open up here and the rocks eventually are removed, are eroded, are weathered away, okay? Until all of the top shell, all this is removed, and now we have the soft sand actually exposed here in the center of this island. And at this stage we're talking about, in eastern Israel, happens a very, very important occasion. We have the Syrian-African rift opening, the longest rift line in the world, 6,000 kilometers long, starting somewhere in Middle Africa, let's say over there, and going all the way towards Syria and Turkey, where they border. Along that line, continents literally break apart as we speak, right now as well. Okay, when this happens, the Dead Sea opens up in the lowest place on earth, forming the lowest place on earth and in Israel. And when this happens, all of our central topography is affected. And this mountain, which we now have here isolated around, nothing high around it, is now tilted towards the Dead Sea, which is here in our life-size model here, okay? And when this happens, rain, which would come from the top of this mountain, would eventually run down towards the Dead Sea. Now look what happens here. This is the beginning of the end. The water, again, which comes only as rain from above, eats away the side of the limestone shell here now, and opens a channel towards the soft sand we had in the center of this ancient mountain. This soft sand now is exposed again to the environment and erodes away. But because all around it we still have the protective shield of the limestone is hardly affected. All the soft sand is removed through this one and only outlet, and eventually what we have left here is a hollowed out mountain which resembles a crater. That's where the confusion comes from, but a crater doesn't have an opening. Here you see we have one opening for the water and the eroded material. This phenomena is what we call machtesh.
I hope you guys were able to keep up with all of that, but just another fun fact for all of you about Mitzpe Ramon, many people think that the crater was actually named from the first Israeli astronaut and hero that perished in the Columbia Space Shuttle back in 2003, when in fact, it's actually the opposite.
Ilan Ramon, which is truly an Israeli hero, was a young pilot in the Israeli Air Force, and his name was Ilan Wolfman at the time. While he was flying and training over this amazing landscape, he decided that he wants to change his own family name to Ramon. And from Wolfman, he became Ramon.